Breyer Milas.
And my name's Carla Justice, and we're so excited. We're here today with Tom Corley, an internationally renowned best-selling author of the book Rich Habits, and he actually has a wonderful book coming out called Rich Kids. Tom, tell us a little bit about your new book, Rich Kids.
Hi, Breyer. Hi, Carla. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Rich Kids is really the next evolution of Rich Habits. It incorporates all of the unique strategies that I uncovered in my 5-year study on daily habits of the wealthy poor. What I found is that in these wealthy households, parents pass along to their kids certain strategies, certain success habits that are the reason why the rich get richer and these kids go on to have such incredible success in life. So I thought, let me share with parents and grandparents who don't necessarily have a lot of money, or they might even be poor, middle class, but they weren't privy to all of these success strategies that the wealthy, successful parents were. Let me give them a little glimpse into the world of wealthy people and what they teach their kids. And so I've probably got at least 100 different strategies in Rich Kids, and I built it around a story format using J.C. Jobs as the grandfather teaching the success strategies.
Awesome. Are there any, of these strategies that you're talking about, any of them related to accountability?
Yeah, well, everything about the strategies that I teach, or J.C. Jobs teaches, is related to accountability. It's all about taking individual responsibility, avoiding the poverty habit of thinking as a victim.
Right.
Poor people and people in the middle class, the one negative thinking bad habit I want to avoid is the idea that your circumstances dictate your financial situation in life. So Rich Kids is all about teaching that circumstances, whatever they might be, are not permanent. You dictate your circumstances in life.
Wow. I actually read the upcoming book. It's incredible. And what I was shocked about was the level of accountability that's required to have, these daily habits. And I was just wondering if you could share with me, Tom, what is the cost of lack of accountability? What have you seen there?
Well, what happens is if you don't take individual responsibility for your circumstances, and by that I mean you don't change the habits that are holding you back in life, then you become an adult, and your limiting beliefs, your negative thinking, and your poverty habits just drag you down. They hold you down, and this is why the poor stay poor. I wrote Rich Habits and wrote Rich Kids because I care so much about poor people and anyone who wants to rise above their current situation. I wrote these books because I knew that I had stumbled onto something that I don't think any other self-help author has spent the time really trying to study, which is not just what it is that wealthy, successful people do that makes them successful, but what is it that people who are struggling financially, what is it that they're doing wrong? So these things are really so critical to transforming your life, these strategies that I cover with kids and habits that are in Rich Habits.
Very interesting. You talk about poverty habits. Are there any specific ones that you think are, more crucial than the others that are holding these kids back?
Yeah, I think the one where you watch too much TV, or you're spending too much time on the internet. For example, I just recently wrote an article based on some of my research in which Facebook is a big deal now. Facebook is now becoming a poverty habit. And as technology changes, the way we waste time changes. So where it was maybe 10 years ago or or 20 years ago was watching too much TV. Now it's
Yeah.
spent too much time on the internet, too much time on Facebook.
Right.
So, these poverty habits, while they might change thanks to technology, the rudimentary, the basis of how these poverty habits exist, like time wasting, that doesn't
Yeah.
change. It's just how we waste our time. That changes.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. So, Tom, one of the things that we do here at the accountability thing is we help corporations reduce waste, increase revenue, and stay on top of their competition. So I was just wondering if you could share with me how you think some of these issues that people aren't accountable to, these daily things, could affect those things within a corporation.
Well, inside a business, one of the things about running a small business is it can get away from you pretty quickly if you're not watching the pennies. In other words, if you watch the pennies, the dollars kind of take care of themselves.
That's good.
We especially saw this during the 2008-2009 recession, where big companies were not moving quick enough to downsize because their revenues had dropped 20-30%. So you had a situation where companies were on the verge of financial ruin because it's like a big battleship. It's sometimes hard to take a big company and move it. Smaller companies are more flexible. They can it might take one or two downsizing one or two individuals or cutting back $10,000-$15,000, whatever, and you can get yourself through these economic downturns. But bigger companies, it's even more important to have the accountability when it comes to costs. You need to really watch every month, almost every week, how you're spending your money. And big companies get into the habit of spending money from one year to the next. They have these things called budgets. And so they look at their budgets and they're trying to cut their budgets, but they're not really looking at the details. That's where it's important to have somebody internally who is forcing accountability in any of these big organizations.
Wow.
That's really interesting, really interesting. I was wondering, with these two books, is there a common message between these two books that are the Rich Habits and the Rich Kids? What would you say is the common message, if you combine those two books?
I think that the important lesson is the value of mentorship. Oftentimes, the only shot any of us have at having mentor life is our parents. So when the parents aren't, becoming those success mentors that they need to be, which is the purpose of writing Rich Kids, transform parents and grandparents into success mentors. If they don't become the success mentor that kids need, there's only 4 other options for anybody to the mentor in life. That's teachers. In your career, find the mentor. Your career is another way. You can find mentors in books. Every book you read could be a mentor, especially if you read biographies and historical books. And then the other shot that you might have a mentor in life is if you start a small business and the school of hard knocks, make mistakes, you screw up, you have failures, and you learn from those mistakes, and you become, in effect, your own mentor.
Wow.
Really interesting.
That's awesome. Well, Tom, we're coming to the end of our show here at the Accountability Thing. And, to wrap up, I'd love to hear if you had, and I'm sure our viewers would love to hear as well, if you had 3 tips that we could pass on to the audience as far as maybe what rich kids do.
Yeah, the first thing I would want to mentor my child or grandchild to do is to read 30 minutes a day to an hour a day, anything that is educational, above and beyond schooling. You want your kids to get into the habit of self-improvement, educational self-improvement. The other thing is kids really need to understand that wealthy people are healthy people for a reason. And if parents teach their kids to engage in aerobic activity every day, becomes a habit that stays with them in life, then as they get older, they have fewer health issues, they are more energy, they're productive. So that's another thing. Gotta stop watching, Facebook, I get.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays. All I know is I see my kids on the phone like this and I start yelling at them, stop. So I think that it's important for parents to be the watchdogs, make sure that their kids aren't wasting their time on cell phones and on their computers and iPad, whatever.
Thank you so much, Tom. This is Briar Mealis from the Accountability Thing.
And my name's Carla Justice. And just so you know, if you'd like, you could find more about us online at theaccountabilitything.com. And we're available on Facebook, The Accountability Thing. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.